On today's Tech Help for Churches, doing audio and video podcasts from the same recording. Hi, and welcome again to Tech Help for Churches. This is the show where every week I help you with new media, social media, just using the internet for your church. My name is Paul Allen Clifford. So I thought that we would talk about something that I do every week. If you're listening to the audio in podcast form, you may not know that this is also a video show. Well, maybe you do know, and that's something that we should talk about. So the first thing that I want to consider is, if you're going to do this, you need to recognize the limitations of the media. This is actually pretty straightforward, but think about it. Video, you can see. Audio, not so much. You can't see. Now, you can hear in both situations. But think about it a little more broadly. When are situations where you can't watch a video? I mean, maybe you could try, but it's not a smart idea. Like, say, when you're running. I wouldn't want to watch a video while I'm running. Say when you're driving a car. Wouldn't want to watch a video while I'm driving a car. Now, maybe if I have a self-driving car, but as of 2017, not particularly common yet. I'm sure in 5-10 years, if you're watching this in 2027, then maybe much more common. But as of 2017, they're not very common. So there are limitations of being human that sometimes require us to do things like use our eyes for other things. And it's certainly the case that probably about half of the podcasts that I listen to are available in video, but I've chosen to listen to them in audio because I tend to listen to podcasts when I'm working on a computer where I need my eyes, or when I'm driving where I need my eyes, or when I'm running where I need my eyes. So there are limitations to an audio podcast that aren't there in video, but video is limited in where you can watch it, in what circumstances, etc. So recognize the limitations of each of the media as you're doing that. And either way, when you're recording, you shouldn't assume, if you're going to send this out as an audio file, don't assume that people can see what you're saying. Don't assume that people can see the facial expressions on your face. I listened to a comedy album one time where the comedian made this joke, and then apparently, I don't know, I wasn't there. I was listening to it. Apparently, he made a facial thing, or he made a gesture, or he pointed to something. I don't know. But the crowd thought it was hilarious. And I didn't so much. I couldn't enter in at all. Happily, that was the only joke like that, but it existed and it was distracting to me. It took me out of the moment. So that's something else that you should consider is just consider whether you should gesture to things that you don't describe, whether you should talk about, well, the audio listeners don't get this. Another thing, not helpful. It's much better to describe it, and so that they will get it, than to say, well, you won't get it, and if you want it, go to the audio. Now, I will say that in some of the shows that I do, I can't help but say, yeah, this is just too much. You really ought to watch the video. And I still release that just as a courtesy to let my audio listeners know why it is that they don't see what's going on. You know, if I'm showing what's on a computer screen, I'm not going to say, okay, now you go down 2 menus and it's on the left. No, not that left. One over from that. And this is what it will say. And, you know, it could get very tedious. So in moderation, just remember what's going on, and at the beginning, call attention to the fact that this one's better watched in video, but if you want to listen to it in audio, just keep in mind what's going on is I'm referencing something that is very visual, and go from there. Next, you should probably pick which is your primary medium. I have very accidentally actually become a YouTuber. I always thought of myself as a podcaster, but there's YouTube and I got videos, so why not upload them? And so that's what I did, and then I found out I'd get more views and watches and etc. on YouTube, and it's long tail, so people will engage with content that's years old where they don't on the podcast. So I accidentally became a YouTuber. So this is all swapped over the years from, hey, I've got a video camera, I'll throw that up as I'm recording my audio podcast, to now I'm recording a video for YouTube that I'm also going to distribute as an audio and video podcast. So pick whichever medium is primary. In my case, it's video. Sorry to you if you listen to the audio, but it is video, and that's just because of the necessities of having a lot more subscribers on my YouTube channel than I do to my audio podcast or my video podcast. So pick which is primary, but cater to the secondary. So again, if video is primary, make sure you describe stuff. If audio is primary, make sure you don't make the background look just too horrible that there's no reason why anyone would ever want to watch it. So engage in the strengths of each media. Don't do both just because you can. Just because you can that's not a good reason. Now, the reason I do both is primarily I do it for my YouTube audience. Hi, like, subscribe, and share. But I also do it for my video and audio podcasting audiences because I know that there are some people that engage with the content better through their ears, and me sitting here as a talking head, not nearly as engaging for that. And there are other people that they learn more through a combination of video and audio. So they might want to download it and keep it for later. Maybe they're on a train, maybe they commute, maybe they just don't want to up their bandwidth bill with their mobile devices. But that's another very good reason to not do both just because you can. Just keep in mind why you are doing both. Now, next I want to encourage you not to neglect the audio editing. Now, you've got a couple of options, but one of them is you could edit your audio and then edit your video and sync them in post. Perfectly legitimate way to do it. Another way to do it is edit both audio and video in your video editor. Chances are it's not going to be as robust as an audio editor, but it's something for you to consider. Don't just ignore the audio because you've got video and concentrate on the video. The audio might need some work. Perfect example, in my shows, I only record on one side, and a few times I've forgotten to check the checkbox to make it dual mono. That's a mistake in audio that affects the video. I mean, you could still see it, but if you happen to be listening with one earbud and it's the wrong one, looks just like I'm just mouthing words. So that's no good. And finally, whatever you do, don't fake video. And what I mean by this is you might be tempted to upload an audio podcast or an audio recording to YouTube and say, we don't have the video, so we'll just put our logo up the entire time. Really, that's no good. You're gonna lose a lot of people very quickly if you do that. And that's not what you want to do. So don't fake the video. Just either, if it's only audio, keep it just audio. That's fine. Don't try and make it into video when it's not video. It's just not. Maybe on occasion you'll want to do it, but in general, just don't do it. Don't make that your MO, your modus operandi of the way that you normally do it. If you like this content, I bet you'd like my email newsletter, so head on over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/subscribe or /newsletter. I've been playing with those links. They both work. And there you can get all sorts of tips and tricks about church tech, plus discounts on some of the products I offer. So go ahead and do that. I also give out free gifts from time to time, so I think you'll really appreciate it. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com. Go out and change eternity.